Thanks, Jeff. I had a bit of a presentation this morning, so let's just go ahead and jump into it. All righty. This morning I thought I would talk a little bit about town line roads, specifically just one of the more complicated topics for local governments can be what happens when we've got a project that crosses boundary lines. Now, of course, roads are an obvious source of potential problem for this because, of course, almost all of our roads, plenty of our roads do. So the Minnesota legislature was aware of this, and they created a statute to sort of begin to delineate the process here. The statute, or source of our authority, comes from Minnesota Statute 164.12, which tells us that when adjoining town roads propose to establish, alter, vacate, or maintain a road on or along the line between such towns, they shall proceed as hereinafter provided. So once we have one of these things, so if we're establishing, if we're altering, if we're vacating, or even if we're maintaining on a town on or along adjoining town roads, we're sort of bound to this special process. And the special process comes in my view, in two parts. First, we have to make a division, and then we have to enter into a formal agreement. This comes to us from Minnesota Statute 164.12, Subdivision 2 and Subdivision 3. Now up on your screen there, you're going to see selections from both of those subdivisions. So subdivision 2 here, town boards shall divide the length of the road proposed to be established, maintained, altered, vacated, or maintained. The road proposed to be established, altered, vacated, or maintained into two parts. After the division, the boards shall enter into an agreement specifying which part shall be sort of done by each. Now, what exactly is supposed to be divided? So when it is proposed to establish or alter a road, both of these come from subdivision 2. The division shall be made so as to divide as nearly equal as possible the cost of right-of-way construction and maintenance of the entire road. Meanwhile, if the proposal is to vacate a road, once again, our lodestone is, quote, as nearly equal as possible. But this time, the thing that we're supposed to be dividing equally is the damages that may be occasioned thereby. So once we've done this, we're supposed to reduce our responsibilities to writing. We're supposed to enter into an agreement. We're supposed to specify the road segment in question. And thereafter, we're supposed to proceed as usual under 16407 or 16406, as the case may be. So all that should prompt a couple of questions, or at least it did for me. What happens if we just don't? A lot of times, this is a statute that I think some folks don't know about. A lot of times towns just kind of take their portion and ignore the other portion. We do have that shall language that is 164.12 subdivision 1. And then we have this opinion. So it's an opinion from the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota from 1948, suggesting that if we just ignore this, we can run into some problems. So we had a case of somebody attempting to vacate a town road, which was part of the common boundary between a Minnesota town and a South Dakota town. They did not follow this procedure, and the Attorney General took the view that that made their procedure invalid. So this is something that you might want to potentially pay attention to. The next thing that kind of occurred to me is we're dividing these things along cost basis, not along geographical basis. So does that mean we can end up in a situation where we are technically obliged to maintain something in another town, or another town is technically obliged to maintain something that's traditionally within our township boundaries? And it turns out the answer is yes. And this is not just an Attorney General opinion. This is an actual appellate court decision. Shinnerman versus Arago Township, up on your screen there. Here's the holding. Adjoining townships may agree to divide responsibility for maintaining roads on or along town lines in such a manner that one township acquires a duty to maintain a portion of an existing road running along town line, but entirely within the other township. So that's kind of an interesting result. And then finally, maybe most important, so if we're dealing with one of those road segments, if we're imagining we've got a Shinneman road segment, so it doesn't strictly sit well with the actual geography of the place, the costs don't quite work along the traditional boundary. So Town A has a segment that for whatever reason is much more expensive than the segment controlled by Town B. So the boards look at a statute, they see that they're supposed to be looking at the cost of the entire road, they're supposed to be dividing it as equally as possible. So Town B ends up maintaining a portion of what would have belonged to Town A if we stuck with the traditional geographical boundaries. Well, what happens if they do a bad job with it? Well, we have a case in which the Minnesota Supreme Court actually answered that question. It's Huver by Huver versus Opatz. And this is a 1986 case from the Minnesota Supreme Court. And the fact pattern goes something like this. In 1983, we have Huver, who's our injured plaintiff. He's a passenger in a car driven by Opatz. She is driving along the Town Line Road when her car struck a large granite outcropping that extended from the adjoining property to the west side of the road. He's injured, and his basic claim is that the two townships, they happen to be LaSauk and St. Wendel, but they knew about the existence of this granite outcropping. They failed to post a warning for it or removing it, thereby making the condition of the road defective and hazardous. So this particular granite outcropping was within the boundaries of St. Wendel, but it was on this portion of the Town Line Road that that the other township was responsible for maintaining under the 1970 agreement. So what they end up doing is they look to this statute, and more or less this is the reasoning that they use here. Our trial court begins by saying, hey, look, this 1970 agreement says LaSauk didn't have a duty to maintain that portion of the Town Line Road because they weren't in control of the maintenance, they weren't in control of the construction. The Court of Appeals reversed, and then the Minnesota Court of Appeals, or the Minnesota Supreme Court, ends up deciding what's on your screen here. Common sense reading of section 164.12, that's our authority here, one that authorizes adjoining townships to agree to allocate both financial and legal duties as regards Town Line roads, will effectuate this legislative intent. If the effect of an agreement pursuant to that statute would be to allocate supervision and control over construction, but not the risk, these agreements would not benefit townships. So you can allocate legal risks alongside the allocation of construction and maintenance. So that's an interesting, it's interesting that we have such detailed instructions from the Minnesota Supreme Court on these cases. It's not usual, I would say, for our statutes to have this kind of detailed interpretation from the courts. Anyway, okay. So just because we're told by law we have to agree doesn't mean that's actually going to happen, especially when we start throwing out words like equal, words like equitable. So what happens if we can't come to an actual agreement? Well, the first appeal goes to the county board, or county boards if you're also on a county line. And if that doesn't work, then the next step is mediation or arbitration. And here's the source of authority for that. Minnesota statute 164.12, subdivision 6, in parens A and in parens B. So when town boards cannot agree upon a division, or upon petition of either town board when a division previously agreed upon has proved to be inequitable, the county board, or where the road is on a county line, the county boards of the counties concerned shall determine the proper division of authority or proper division of responsibility. And in this, the county board's judgment is they're directed to look back to subdivision 2 and subdivision 5. And interestingly enough, the Minnesota legislature has shifted its language in these two provisions. So if you notice, in our first two subdivisions, they were talking about equal division of costs. Well, now we can potentially appeal to the county board if instead of equal, we're looking at something that is called inequitable. So we have potentially dueling standards there, and we haven't had a court tell us what exactly those two different words mean. But just so you're aware, there's sort of a bubble of ambiguity potentially within the statute there. Of course, if agreement can't be reached under paragraph A, and then you see here either town board may request to have the matter determined through mediation, arbitration, or mediation arbitration pursuant to the rules of general practice. Okay. So last thing I wanted to mention here is that we do have an example agreement up on our website if you'd like to see an example of one of these things that has been effective for other townships in the past. It's document TR 11,000. And here are some example clauses. So this is kind of the meat of responding to subdivision 2 here, just an example clause dividing the roads in question. Now the description is going to be pretty important there, but of course the operative language from a legal perspective is relatively straightforward. Town line road right of way shall be divided for maintenance purposes as follows. X township maintains that, Y township maintains that. And then, of course, we also have clauses related to potentially big ticket items, stuff you might want to think about. Who is going to be responsible for drainage? Is that going to be different? It doesn't have to be the same as it doesn't have to be just the same as where you divide it on the right of way. You could provide for that explicitly, or tree removal, or major repairs. Interestingly enough, bridges can be divided this way too, and that's one way you can end up with sort of, if I'm taking this segment and you're taking that segment, you can end up with more mileage than I can if I'm maintaining sort of a particularly expensive item like a bridge, for example. So, okay, that was bit of a quick tour through that statute and the relevant case law. Does anybody have any questions? Excuse me. Okay.
In chat. Or,
oh,
there you go, Graham.
Does that apply to cartways along the section line as well? I would take the view that it does, or likely it does. There's an AG opinion on point, which seems to suggest that it would. Yeah, I'd be happy to send you that citation if you are interested.
All right. Well, thank you, Graham. I appreciate your presentation. Lori, did you have anything from the training side?
Sorry, I was trying to find the right button.
No, no worries.
As Jeff said, if you know of anybody or if you hear of anybody that is having troubles with their ARPA report, have them reach out to me and I will get the information out to our trainers. I am going to be looking at doing some training in June. Don't know what yet. I'm looking at maybe CTAS. Okay, Pat, you just answered my question. I did get from the state auditor's office, I have a list of townships that do have CTAS, and I put them in counties by county. So I know where the concentrated areas are of CTAS users so that we can get that training out to those that need it. And I'm also kind of toying with the idea of having a morning class and then an evening class in the same venue. So folks that have to work don't have to take time off of work. I heard that request one of the other times I was out. I know it was at a district meeting. If we could have some evening classes, because our township officers have full-time jobs and it's hard to get some time off of work. So just batting that around, looking at our options. Otherwise, September, we are also going to be out. We're looking at maybe June for the CTAS and then September for more training. CTAS would be limited sites. It's not going to be six sites, but it'll be limited. I want to get out there and get some CTAS. It's hard for people to come to the office all the time, so I'll have a couple sessions here as well. So that's my plan so far. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out, email me, call me. I forward my office phone to my cell phone. So if I am able to get to the phone, I will be able to answer phone calls and get those questions answered as soon as we possibly can. So if anybody has any questions for me, let me know.
Thank you, Lori. Hamlin Township just asked that I talked about education on roads from LTAP. Not sure if that's correct name, info about that. Yeah. Essentially right now on our website, if you go to our education side or training side, you will see dates, times and dates and locations of where LTAP is having their education and doing their different types of seminars and so forth. And so you want to check out those. That is completely separate from that. We do not put those on. We appreciate that they do put those on, and then we just market those for them and spread the information out so that if our township officers do want to partake in that, then it's available to them. But that's completely separate from that. And but again, we really do appreciate they do a wonderful job for us. So any other questions for myself, attorneys, trainers?
I just want to reiterate what Jeff said earlier about getting on Matt U. I'm gonna get the trainers to get some of those videos up there, maybe the short course presentations, get them recorded and get them on the website. It's a great resource for, especially for new officers that we're not able to get out on short courses. So like Jeff said, we want to get a couple out there a week or a month at least, at the very minimum. So keep an eye on that and keep using that. It's not going to take the place of in-person, but it'll be a resource for those that prefer the online.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. No, all Matt U is supposed to do is be a complement to the in-person. We have no design and no desire to stop in-person training. We know the importance of having that face-to-face connection. And when you have a question about something, you can just automatically right then and there ask that question and get it responded to, which you just cannot do that in a video. And it definitely loses its importance when it comes to that. Great last two Zooms about roads. Thank you. Wonderful. Appreciate hearing that. And any other questions? Our attorneys do a great job. I certainly appreciate their knowledge and their ability to present. Hearing none. All right. I appreciate all you guys coming. Thank you very much. This is a short Township Tuesday. But as always, if you have any questions, please give us a call. Give us some time to get back with you. I guess this is one thing I do want to talk about, and this is just really short, is we have had some officers when they call in and they want some help, they may not get a response back right away. Believe me, we do get your emails, we do get your voicemails, but because of all the officers that we have to work with and the limited number of people that are on the MAT staff, it takes a while for us to get back. It may be a few days. And so give us time to get back to you and be able to help you with that. Please, if you leave an email or a voicemail for Steve on a legal question, don't then call Graham and see if Graham can help you. We all have backlog people that we have to get in touch with and resolve their issues for them. And so we just try and put everybody in the queue and work through them as best we can. And so I do, please, I appreciate your patience. Same thing with the trainers. We've had people that have called all 5 trainers and have left the same messages with all 5 trainers, thinking that that's going to get them a faster answer. Basically, what that does, it just slows us up. Because again, we have 9,000 officers. If you call 5 people, and if that's consistent among everybody, that's like us having 45,000 people that we have to deal with, because the trainers don't necessarily know who may have answered a question for this particular township. And the same thing with the attorneys as well. And so please, again, I ask for your patience. And that's it. I'll get off that soapbox. And I wish you all a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Yeah,
Yep.
Gary, yes.
Yep. Do you have Heather on at all?
I don't see her.
Okay. I just wanted to mention it that we had a couple of calls from township officers that they heard from an inspector that was wanted to come out and view their town hall and their properties. And the one that called me said that this inspector was trying to get a hold of another township but had the wrong number and called him instead. So I talked to Heather about that, and that all had to do with our changing over to origami. Some numbers got goofed up and things like that. But there are a number of townships that will be called and picked out to do an audit of their property, and so that we can know how to insure them, that they have enough insurance, or that they're not paying too much. But anybody that has questions on that, do give Heather a call on that, and she'll show you what's going on with it. So that's all I had. Just wanted to bring that to attention.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Appreciate that. And with that, I will bid you all a fine farewell, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Take care, everybody.